Welcome to First Wednesday Connect. Thanks for joining us in this virtual event space. And here in the background behind me is our real event space. I'm Smart Precinct NQ's Communities Manager, Susan Graham-Ryan. Thank you for joining us as we all continue to adapt and pivot and jump over the hurdles that were provided in these interesting times in which we live. Tonight might look and feel a little bit different to our typical First Wednesday Connect events. Like everyone right now, we're having to adjust to last-minute meetings, technical challenges, COVID diagnosis, and isolations. But the show must go on, and I'm sure we can all learn and take something away from tonight and have a little fun along the way. And I think Martin, or should I say President Ted, is helping that with us for us. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the land in which we meet today, the Bindal and Wulgarukaba peoples, and for those wherever you may be joining us. And I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and I extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples joining us today. I'd also like to acknowledge our Smart Precinct NQ board member, John Chandler, who's joining us, our community leaders and our guest speakers. This event is being live streamed and recorded and will be shared in part and or in full following this event online. So we don't have any awkward surprise background appearances. We ask that if you have anyone in the house or nearby you, just to let them know that you are on a recorded Zoom. That being said, we would love to see your faces so that we can have that contact, even though we are all social distancing. So please share your video if you do feel comfortable, but please remain on mute. Our chat function should send direct messages only to our hosts. So that's the best place to reach us should there be any issues along the way. If you are posting about this event, we ask you to use the hashtag SmartPrecinctNQ or hashtag SPNQ Hotspot when it comes to that time, and tag us on Facebook and Instagram. The hotspot is back towards the end of this event, and you can join the hotspot to introduce yourself if you're new to the community, discuss an area that others can support you, share opportunities for others like leads, grants, training, supports, anything that might help somebody else, and celebrate wins or major milestones for yourself or your organisations. If you like to push yourself out of your comfort zone and get onto that hotspot, please send us a private message in the chat and we'll add you to the list, and we'll endeavour to fit you in depending on how we go for time. Partnerships. Tonight's event will explore different partnerships, new collaborations, informal alliances and more formal partnerships, and what leads to prosperity within them. We'll hear stories from different organisations about how their partnerships came to be, the conversations that have been had along the way, and those formal frameworks and where those might be most relevant. Firstly, a new collaboration is about to be launched. I'd like to introduce Smart Precinct NQ's Head of Engagement, Cassandra. Hey, Cass.
Hello, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. I'm super excited to kick off this event with our amazing team and you all joining us this afternoon. So many of you know that here at the Smart Precinct, it's our mission to create a vibrant ecosystem of high growth companies that are globally competitive and based right here in North Queensland. And this mission is really enabled by some of the wonderful relationships and partnerships that we already share with many of you and that have started and formed since our inception. So with our topic tonight being about partnerships, I thought it was only fitting to announce that Smart Precinct North Queensland is actually launching Smart Hub Charters Towers. This is something that we've been working on for many, many months, and something we're super excited about, expanding our footprint, our knowledge and sharing that little bit deeper and further into our communities. And tonight I'm very excited to not only welcome the Charters Towers businesses who are joining us here online, but acknowledge the amazing support from Charters Towers Regional Council. Without their support and the backing from Charters Towers Regional Council, we really wouldn't have been able to do it. And, you know, we really share the same vision and that is to increase the support for local businesses in these communities that we serve. So tonight I'm super excited. I'd love to introduce to you our program lead in Charters Towers and in that region, Melanie, Lavelle, Maloney, which I know Mel is on the call somewhere. Are you there, Mel? You might be on mute. So thanks for joining us for your first Wednesday Connect, Mel. for those that haven't met Mel before, while she gets organised there, I'll let you know that she is the Tourism, Trade and Investment Advisor at Charters Towers Regional Council. But to us, she's also our amazing new lead at Smart Hub Charters Towers. So welcome.
Thank you.
Now, I know this is a little bit different. We had planned to do a bit of a launch and we wanted to invite everyone along, but due to the circumstances, we weren't able to do that. And I know, I just wanted to share, like, Charters Towers has been in business for 150 years this year. And, you know, the region, for those that don't know, enjoys a diverse economy, including mining, agriculture, education, manufacturing, construction, retail, defence, and of course you were recently the backdrop to Survivor. So I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about the experiences of businesses in Charters Towers during that, the Survivor being part of your city, and also just the opportunities that are on the horizon in your area.
Okay, thanks, Cass, and hello everyone. I'd just like to introduce my the person that's actually going to be driving our hub is Lee Gray. Are you there, Lee?
Lee is there somewhere. Yep. I saw her face earlier.
Yeah, cool.
Hi. Yeah, I'm there.
So Charters Towers has been absolutely delighted to host the Endemol Shine crew, the producers of Australian Survivor. We had something like 350 crew members in our region for over 3 months whilst they made the series. So everything that you see, and I hope we've got some serious Survivor fans out there, was made here in Charters Towers. So they created all the challenges, they thought about the challenges, they made them, took it to site, and they filmed on location. And my phone hasn't stopped ringing for the last couple of nights on the back of just everyone being so excited and delighted at what the production has, how they've showcased our region. So for our local businesses, you know, it's meant that because the crew had a buy local, a strong buy local focus, that there was many businesses here who were able to increase their capacity and buy new pieces of equipment, expand their businesses. It's just been amazing, and most businesses have reported about a 15% increase in their revenue. And the fact that since the crew has actually left the towers, that revenue is still is still there and increasing. So that's been fabulous news to hear.
Mm.
Yeah.
And just the opportunities that are available in Charters Towers that are on the horizon for you guys. How is it looking at the moment?
Well, there's an opportunity for someone to come out and do Survivor tours.
Anyone need a good holiday?
There's lots of opportunities here, and since I've been here in end of 2019, you know, it was a little bit dismal seeing Main Street with lots of empty shops, but that has improved significantly. I think we've only got probably 3 or 4 empty shops on the main street now, and you know, we've got the fabulous Gold Tower development, which is you know, probably a K out of town, and they've got some exciting businesses locating to the towers to take up their buildings, lease their buildings there. We need to increase the business services that we currently have. So as a homeowner here, trying to get people, businesses to come and do things, improvements, carpenters, painters, electricians, all those types of things. And it's consistently communicated to me that it's very difficult. So there's a lot of opportunities. As you know, we have our mines which are kicked full into gear and expanding, so they take a lot of our talent away from the town and give them wonderful employment opportunities. But there is a real need for services and also for you know, there's always room for more manufacturing. You know, we've got our 777 block, which was purchased by council 2 years ago, 777 hectares right on the beautiful Burdekin that we're developing into an industrial precinct.
Yeah.
So there's lots of
so much happening.
Yeah.
So I guess, like, from our end, what we're looking forward to doing is really providing small to medium businesses through our partnership, you know, supporting entrepreneurs, innovators, inventors, and helping them to get access to business growth support, business advisory, grant support, subsidised accelerator programs, and events just like tonight, and hopefully some in-person events in the future.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to that, Cass.
How many businesses? Yeah.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to hosting these events as and when we can, and in the meantime, getting that information out, because you know, I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there that want to start a business and don't know how. So we're really excited to be able to provide this service to them so that they can have that support that they need, and obviously for the existing businesses too.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we said, those programs have launched now. Can you just share with everyone how they can get involved, and we'll move into the next formal part of the evening.
That's it there?
Yep. Oh, yep. So we've got, so the Smart Hub's going to be based at the library. It'll be open by invitation, and also there'll be a co-working space there from 9 till 3. And then we've got a Facebook a Smart Hub Charters Towers Facebook page, and obviously all of the lines are open. You can jump onto the website and see all the programs that are on offer. So thanks so much, Mel and Lee. We're really excited to have you on board.
We're very excited.
Cheers.
Thank you, Cassandra and Mel and Lee. If you know of a startup or business in Charters Towers that would benefit or be interested in Smart Hub Charters Towers, our programs, or anything else that Smart Precinct here currently offers, please ask them to follow our Smart Hub Charters Towers Facebook page. Now I'd like to introduce Jack Growden and Ashley Finn. Jack Growden is the 24-year-old founder and CEO of LiteHaus International, passionate about conquering inequality and making access to digital technology equitable around the world. Jack began the LiteHaus journey by donating his personal laptop to the remote Kuta Primary School. He's now provided more than 36,000 students in Papua New Guinea, regional Australia and beyond with digital learning tools and opportunities, and has the goal of impacting 1 million people by 2030. He was a finalist in the 2022 Queensland Young Australian of the Year Award and was recognised as the Queensland Emerging Philanthropist of the Year and an AMP Tomorrow Maker in 2020. Ashley Finn combines his passions of the Pacific, construction and logistics to grow Pacific Islands International into a leader for exporting building materials into the Pacific. Ashley sits on the executive of the Australian Pacific Islands Business Council and is the former chair of the Townsville Enterprise Papua New Guinea Economic Working Group, and is also a non-executive director of the board of LiteHaus International. As is the nature of these dynamic times, Jack has had a last-minute trip to PNG. He headed up this morning, and Ashley had a board meeting that he needed to attend. So we've pre-recorded this discussion about their partnership.
The bottom line with partnerships is to try and find people who can fill a need. It's actually quite a selfish endeavour to find partnerships, because we can't do everything on our own. No organisation has the resources to deliver every single last bit of its strategic mission, especially a not-for-profit like LiteHaus. So, of course, within our partnership sphere, we have donors who fund our programs and make the incredible work that we do possible from a financial standpoint. But that's not the only type of partnerships we have. Of course, we also have others donating digital equipment as well. We have partners in country, so up in Papua New Guinea, people that help us roll these programs out, and eventually more across Asia as well. We've got partners across Australia that help us identify the need for students that may be suffering from digital exclusion. But probably most of interest to people on the call are the partnerships that we've sown locally with organisations such as Pacific Islands International. So for us, we're shipping a lot of equipment to Papua New Guinea and eventually right across Southeast Asia, moving a lot of things around. We needed logistical support. We needed people who are familiar with moving things throughout the Pacifics. And naturally, Ash and I got together and had a conversation. Ash now sits on the board of directors for LiteHaus. But really, it's about identifying just those areas where we needed support and going out and finding people who can offer that to us, and hopefully people who we can offer something to as well. So I think we'll talk a bit more down the track through the call, but I think the main thing with partnerships is ultimately finding that common ground of mutual benefit to build a relationship upon.
Values is something that people often speak about with this, and Ashley, that you might be able to talk to this a little bit. You've obviously got partnerships in PNG and other Pacific nations that you're tapping into, and I guess yep. Jack, in a sense, is tapping into those partnerships. Sure. What were the things that were appealing in this partnership with LiteHaus International for you?
I guess, as you brought up there, just the values. So, you know, the values that Jack has and LiteHaus as an organisation from its infancy was something that we were attracted to. Pacific Islands International isn't so much in the education space. We can't really, you know, deliver the need for what LiteHaus can do in the countries we do business in. You know, Papua New Guinea's got a big need for education, and I guess that's where partnerships come in, don't they? You know, we can team up with people that have got the expertise in that area, and then yeah, join forces and sort of come out with some great deliverables that obviously LiteHaus is doing.
How do each of you kind of contribute to that partnership personally, and did it start from a really organic place where it wasn't just about how can each of you help each other?
Yeah, well, I guess, you know, I didn't know anything about Jack and LiteHaus, and, you know, living in Townsville, it's a funny thing when you don't really know someone because it's such a small place. But, you know, Jack, I think, went to Papua New Guinea, come back, told a few blokes in the footy club, and I'm sure Jack could tell the story better than I am, but he heard about me and then reached out and had a common interest, and he told me his vision of, you know, what he wanted to create or had already created with LiteHaus. So yeah, I jumped online and started following him, and I guess, you know, one step at a time, and before you know it, Jack's turned around, and I guess the first step of that partnership would have been, you know, we as a business, we've got a lot of old digital waste, if that's what we want to call it, that we had to dispose of, and you know, Jack said, you give me anything from, you know, old, you know, screens to laptops to, you know, anything in that IT space. So I've got my IT department to pretty much clean out the whole, you know, back room and give it all to Jack. And that's where that partnership started. So, yeah, we donated what we could to LiteHaus and the cause. And I guess just being, you know, having a common interest, and Jack going to PNG and I'm going to PNG, had a lot of contacts. So we started talking a little bit more, and I think it was just as COVID kicked off, I got this meeting request from Jack, and he called me up and said, "Do you want to become a director?" So I was a bit yeah, I was a bit shocked, you know, but honoured at the same time. So that was my first, I guess, professional non-for-profit director role. So obviously a director of my family group of businesses, but for me to go out and step outside of that was an opportunity I thought was too good to pass up. So yeah, I think that was about almost 2 years ago. You know, we got together in Jack's parents' garage. You know, where all good stories start, and we got the board together, and we become a professional board. You know, work through the whole stages of the incorporated association right now to a proprietary limited company, non-for-profit, of course. So that journey's been amazing for me, and I guess, yeah, I can only thank Jack for getting me involved.
I think a lot of fantastic North Queensland businesses and organisations have started in somebody's shed or garage or carport or something like that.
Absolutely.
Ash mentioned how our partnership began, and it started off with something as simple as, yeah, come and clean out our storeroom of devices. That's great. Then it moved on to something else. Then it moved on to something else. The great thing about this particular partnership, and I'd put this out there to all business owners and corporates sitting on the call right now. If you want to support community, if you want to have an impact in the community and do that through partnering with community organisations, the key is to find a way to help. It doesn't have to be cash. Now, some organisations are in a position to donate cash, others are donating equipment, others are supporting through the services that they provide. There's always a way to support organizations like LiteHaus International. And I would also put out on the other side of that to community groups and to charities and not-for-profits and foundations. Make sure you're receptive to all avenues of support, because what you're really stewarding is a journey, a campaign, and you have to be making sure you've got a ability to cater for other people trying to help and trying to get involved in your mission.
We're talking with a number of different people about their different partnerships, and just, do you guys have a formal partnership or any sort of agreements in place?
We do have MOUs, statements of intent, which basically, I think the greatest value of an MOU is to outline roles and responsibilities of one party and expectations of another. But ultimately, I think those are background documents that don't really sit at the forefront of our mind. Certainly Ash and I don't even think we do have one with Pacific Islands. It's just one that's built on mutual trust, mutual benefit, and yeah, I think enjoyment in the partnership is really the key.
Ash, did you want to add anything to that?
Oh, yeah, not really. I mean, yeah, you can be as formal as you like. I think, Townsville and North Queenslanders in general, we're not the most formal people. I mean, if you go to Hong Kong or New York or something like that, the terms that you deal with, or the partnerships and the MOUs you'd have to go through there would be a lot different to the way we do business up here in North Queensland. And I think, a handshake says a lot. People, if we like you, we like you. If we don't, we don't. And you sort of move on from that. So, yeah, I don't think it needs to be any more formal than it has to be. As long as you're buying into whatever the vision is of the partnership, of the people you're doing business with, or, the charities you're supporting. I think that's how we do it anyway.
Open to either of you, is there any advice that you'd give to people that are looking to get into partnerships, be they formal or informal?
Absolutely. I think what Ash just touched on there is great. One of the great Australian character attributes is to be a bit more relaxed and not wear a tie when you're on calls like these, for example, these sort of things. I think sometimes having terms and conditions around partnerships can just almost trigger arguments or tension, or it also narrows the focus of potential things you can do within a partnership. When you enter into an MOU, if Ash and I had entered into an MOU 18 months ago, would we have known the full range of things we could conquer if we had set stringent things? I don't think so. So I think the key is to keep it simple, but also really work on building the partnership to start with. Before you enter into any sort of discussions as well, you need to know why you're partnering. What is it that you're hoping to achieve? What is it that you can't solve on your own? What is it that you need to collaborate on to achieve the shared vision? I think that's really important. A lot of people, partnerships for partnership's sakes don't work, so don't attempt that. But really just trying to find people that can offer something complementary to your services, your products, and what you're trying to achieve is so important before you even look for partners.
Ash, did you want to say anything?
Oh, mate, Jack's too good at all this stuff. I just sit back and that's the time.
We are talking with a local allied health agency that's going to be directly after this about they independently had their own occupational therapy businesses, and they've merged to become Apricus Health. And that is a more formal business. There's money and staff and all of those sorts of things intertwined. So that's obviously a different situation to this, where it is a bit of more of a social impact for Ash's organisation and the impact that you will have from there, Jack.
Yep, absolutely it is. Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, of course, not downplaying the fact that if businesses merge or, things more complicated, have to have some sort of agreement to underpin that for sure. But I think, I'd hate to see partnerships in this particular sector, which is all I can really talk to, not be entered into because things are too complicated or whatnot. Find a way to help, get it on a one-page MOU. We've got one-page MOUs with partners, overseas, for example, providing services that are complementary. But I keep using that word complementary. The best partnerships are ones where there's value add to each other. If there's no value add, there's probably not really a purpose to partner in the first place.
I guess it's all down to motivation. Some will be about values, some will be about financial value, and different other sorts of goals. Is there anything else that you want to mention to people who might be entering into investment arrangements or other partnerships or collaborations or anything like that?
Look, it comes back to just, I guess, the values of who we are, and then we form the relationships with the people that have got those same type of values, and then on the back of that, that's where these partnerships form between, you know, not just people, but, you know, the businesses and the entities that are being created. So I think that's just how we've developed our business. We're a family business. We go out to the Pacific Islands, and there's not a lot of corporates out there. Most of our customers are family businesses, and that connection, you know, it's easy to pick up the phone. You can talk to, you know, the directors who are ultimately, you know, the mums and dads of the businesses that we deal with, and that, you know, that makes it quite easy. You know, if the times are tough and you've got to have that hard chat, you know who they are, they know who we are, and we want the best, you know, for whatever the issue is, to come out the best for both parties. So yeah, just I think that's a, you know, pretty important aspect is that journey through, you know, who you know, how do you get to that partnership? And that's, as we spoke about before, it's the values we got, the people we want to do business with, the relationships we form, and ultimately, yeah, those partnerships that come of it.
Maybe Ash, we can start with you and finish with Jack. Is there anything our communities can help with you with your organisation?
Yeah, look, I love Townsville. I love contributing to the community, you know, whether it is, you know, with LiteHaus or with other associations, you know, we're a part of, you know, wherever we travel, we can go and, you know, spread the good word about Townsville and North Queensland. And I guess that's what I'm passionate about. How can the community help me? I think it's just, you know, coming together, given opportunities for our youth, you know, trying to get, you know, more people moving to Townsville, trying to build the economy, make us more self-sustainable up here. You don't have to move to Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, you know, just to have a future. And I think that's how I see Townsville, North Queensland is you know, let's make it a place where people want to come and live. It's a great lifestyle. You know, most of the time we got good weather. Get through summer, and, you know, how good's winter. So look, yeah, I love Townsville, and I think that's just the way that I would like the community to contribute is to promote it as much as we do.
And Jack?
Yeah, absolutely. Just reiterating what Ash said there, you know, about people finding a future up here in North Queensland and not having to move to major centres. There's a massive digital divide across our community in North Queensland. We've spoken a lot about Papua New Guinea, but just right here on our own doorstep, so many young people, potentially more than 30,000 sort of north of Gympie in Queensland, are going without the tools to succeed in the digital age today. They're going without a laptop or a desktop computer. So that compromises their educational experience. Of course, today is an online world, a digital world, and the students need those tools to succeed. So as Ash has said, our partnership began off the back of simply donating end-of-life equipment that was of no use to their company anymore. So companies across Queensland, we are trying to change the culture of e-waste. What do you do with those devices gathering dust on your shelf? Give them to LiteHaus International, and we'll make sure they end up in the hands of students that need them.
We thank both Jack and Ashley for taking time out to join us to discuss their North Queensland approach to partnership. And Cass, you wanted to add something here?
Yeah, Suze, I just wanted to make mention, it's actually a bit of a shout out to Jack, actually. So Smart Precinct, when we first started, actually were gifted some end-of-life devices. And to be honest, they sat on our shelf. We didn't really have a use for them. And about 3 months ago, we were super delighted. We reached out to Jack. We donated 25 of our end-of-life devices through the Smart Precinct. And just knowing that they're going to support young people to have access to those digital tools made us feel great, but it actually freed up a ton of room in our storeroom as well. So I just want to shout out to Jack, because he turned up, he rolled up his sleeves, you know, he opened his boot and he did about 10 trips to the car. And yeah, I just thought it was amazing. So a bit of a shout out to him, that's all. And a big thanks.
Yes, thank you so much. And that authenticity from both of those gentlemen, and we really appreciate their time. We understand they're both really busy, and yeah, Jack, of course, in PNG at the moment. And as we heard, that relaxed approach that they've taken to that agreement has opened up more opportunities than they could have initially expected by learning more about their respective skills and connections. And if you would like to learn more about LiteHaus International or support them, find out more about them on their website or Facebook page. Now to another type of partnership. After a professional friendship over many years, occupational therapists, founders and innovators, Joanna Murray and Cassandra Chiesa have joined forces to diversify and adapt. Cassandra Chiesa is an occupational therapist with 20 years experience in the field of hand therapy and upper limb rehabilitation. She has experience in both the private and public sectors, is a guest lecturer at JCU, and in 2019 was awarded the Townsville Businesswoman Woman of the Year title. Joanna Murray founded and was the managing director of Access Therapy Services for 11 years. Cassandra Chiesa founded and directed Helping Hands for 15 years before the pair began discussions last year to partner and create Apricus Health. Unfortunately, Joanna is unable to join us this evening. Cassandra is joining us tonight to discuss how Apricus Health came to be, the important discussions and decisions in entering the partnership, and how they knew it was the right move for their respective businesses. Can we ask that if you have any questions, drop them in the chat or raise your hand on the little buttons down the bottom of the screen to just let us know. Cassandra, hopefully you can pop on unmute so that we can have a chat. Cassandra, thanks for joining us this evening. Hopefully she's popping up in a second. Thanks for joining us. We can hear you. Thank you. Firstly, tell us, what is Apricus Health?
So Apricus Health is an allied health clinic. So we have clinics based in Townsville, Ingham, Ayr, and actually, interestingly, we just started a clinic in Chatters Towers as well. And we do outreach services to pretty well that whole space. So we're predominantly an occupational therapy practice, but we also have physiotherapists in the hand therapy space. So we've got different pillars that go across the lifespan. So we do a lot of work in the hand therapy, which is really where my background is, which is fingertip to shoulder rehabilitation. We do age support, so occupational therapy services for elderly people in the home to keep them safe and independent. Pediatrics, so a lot of work with the younger generations, helping them with any difficulties that they may have or any disability needs that they have, and adult disability as well in the NDIS space, as well as mental health.
Wonderful. And Joanna and yourself had a professional friendship for several years. I think you both mentioned to me that you used to catch up sort of during those professional development events. And it was a partnership that wasn't something that you were necessarily actively looking for. How did the idea of a partnership begin, and was there wine involved?
No, there wasn't. I don't think there was coffee involved, I think, more than wine. Yeah, so it definitely wasn't something that was on the cards. It certainly wasn't something that I was looking for at all, really, at the time. I think it really came from a number of things that were really going on and discussions that I was having with Joe. So yeah, correct in that we'd been sort of peer mentors with each other for 11 years. I had been running my business for a few years before she was. So what was really nice about our relationship is we both were running occupational therapy practices, but they were non-competitive. So that enabled us to be really open and honest and transparent about what difficulties or what good things we were doing with our clinic, really comfortable in each other, knowing that it was safe, I guess, a safe space. So the reasons, I guess, that I think we were both, if I can only speak for myself in terms of the reasons behind the merger for me and why those discussions started happening. And the first one was really from a clinical perspective. I'd certainly become a unique clinic for hand therapy and was certainly known for injury and rehab in the upper limb. But I had actually been seeing quite a lot of patients, and my therapist been seeing quite a lot of patients for conditions outside those areas. And that was mostly because I'd invested in some technology for pain, so laser and neuromuscular stimulation technology. And it was working so well in the upper limb that people were asking us to treat their ankles and their shoulders and their necks and their headaches. And so it had become this clinic that was a hand therapy clinic, and it was almost like we were trying to explain to the doctor why I was touching a foot or an elbow. So that was one of the reasons. The second reason that both Joe and I certainly had ties to was recruitment. So I know recruitment's difficult in all sorts of industries, but certainly in health it is becoming more and more difficult since the prevalence of NDIS, really, because a lot of businesses that never had to employ occupational therapists before are needing to. So we're still the Queensland universities there's still a lot of university students coming out, but there's a lot more work. So there's a lot more competition to get those therapists. So one of the discussions was really around that recruitment piece and how amazing it would be to have this company that was able to give occupational therapy new grads a huge variety of occupational therapy fields that they could go into and all those ages. So versus going to one clinic if you wanted to do age support and another clinic if you wanted to do hand therapy, essentially offer a new grad rotational program, which is something very unique. I don't know that anyone, even in Australia, has got a private practice who has that broad range of services that we're able to offer. It's only really ever a hospital that might give something like that, but it's probably even more diverse with what we do. So recruitment was one of the big things. COVID certainly came into it. I think anything with any business decision in the last couple of years has maybe a COVID pivot kind of conversation around it. And really COVID for me had two reasons behind why I sort of started really seriously thinking about it. And the first one was hand therapy is very face-to-face. You're essentially sitting opposite someone, holding their hand. You certainly can't get 1.5 meter distance with each other. You're doing wound care, you're taking out stitches, you're doing passive ranging. So some of it can be done by telehealth, but a vast majority of it, you have to be touching your client and you have to be face-to-face. So come February 2020, March 2020, I was suddenly in this position where I honestly thought my business was going to close down because we could not be able to continue with what we were doing. And this was before we knew that there would be essential services and rehab would be allowed to continue. So it was very much an unknown and it was extremely scary. And so at that point, I really sort of started thinking, wow, I kind of need to diversify a little bit more if I'm going to survive this pandemic. And then also from the other reason for COVID, it was just a really scary time in terms of those fears that I've never had before. And so I thought it would actually be really nice to have someone who could share those fears, because I'd been working on my own in my own business with no one from sort of to talk to from in that perspective, like another business owner that had half the risk. So that certainly was a nice thing to think about, that I would have someone else there to share that, share those kind of burdens, share the good times, share some of those roller coaster moments. And then lastly for me, from a personal business kind of perspective, I wanted some more growth in myself and my business knowledge. And I've been running Helping Hands for 15 years. I certainly could have done more with it, but I was kind of feeling as though I wanted another challenge and I wanted another room to, I guess, affect more people and to assist more people in the community. And I felt like I really had the ability to do that if I had a bigger clientele, a bigger service group, and more therapy offerings.
You mentioned there about having that person to speak to and, sharing the load, I guess, a little bit. What are some of the positives of coming together, combining capital, spreading the workload? What are some of the other positives that you see?
I definitely think from an employee perspective, it's been really nice for the employees to have a little bit more ability to grow within the company, because with both of us having my clinic was a little bit smaller, but there was still not many levels people could move through. There wasn't really a leadership team. So I think from an employee perspective, people can really see that they've got room to move. They can go into management roles, they can go into leadership roles. So that's been really good for team culture and just for being able to, again, attract and recruit people. Certainly it's probably a little bit too early to see some of those efficiencies in the finances in terms of having one system and one accountant for a larger thing. So those economies of scale, I guess, we haven't quite seen them, but I'm certainly hoping that they will, happen in the near future. Just on the understanding that this is very fresh. This merger happened in October, so we haven't quite seen all the benefits that I know will come. I think we've got so many brains in the business. I think that's a positive too. We've got 38 staff and so many ideas and so many innovative people. One of our values is really about bringing innovative people in our team. So I think just having essentially twice as many amazing brains, from the trainee admin up to the senior therapist, there's so many people we can draw on for that. And I think, certainly from a community perspective and from a client perspective, it absolutely is a better business, because we're really able to offer that integrated, holistic treatment versus being very silo in what we were doing. So an example of that might be, we often get people who have fallen over and broken their wrists. So there might be an elderly person who's tripped on something at home and broken their wrist. Now, Helping Hands has always been amazing at splinting them and fixing them and getting their rehab going and getting them moving and getting their grip strength back. But maybe what we haven't been so good at is going into their house and finding out why they tripped in the first place, checking their balance, making sure their home environment's safe, that type of thing. So because we've got this huge variety of therapists that are very specialized and got this real niche in their own abilities, we're able to tap into team members to make sure that whoever comes into our clinic has really got that holistic view, and we're ensuring that all their needs are being met. So that's probably a really big positive.
Were there some tough, or maybe vulnerable is more the accurate word, conversations that you and Joanna had to have about some of the things like communication, non-negotiables, work-life balance, and what you each bring to the business? What were some of those conversations that you had to have going in?
Yeah, so definitely the work-life balance and just an understanding of work hours available, I guess, was definitely an important conversation for me, and was my first conversation I had with Joe. And that's because we are at different stages of life, I guess, if you want to put it that way. So Joe has an adult son, so flown the nest. So essentially kind of has pretty well as many hours as she wants within reason to work on the business. I have 2 of my own children, 2 stepchildren, all of who are under 8. So we have a very busy house with a lot of things going on. And I've always, from the day one of having Helping Hands, I've always ensured I'd set my business up so that I could prioritize my family. Not that I had kids back then, but my partner back then. And so it was absolutely my insistence that if we did do this, I was still going to be able to take school holidays off. I was still going to be, at that point, I've got one starting prep, so I was able to still take Mondays and Fridays off. So that was a conversation that had to be had, and Joe was fine with that. And so that was, I think, if I hadn't had that conversation, I'd be having a lot of guilt along the way. So that was definitely a conversation. And just, sorry, remind me what you asked me and I can come up with something else.
Really about managing expectations, I guess, what you each contribute to the business, or how you communicate if there is, if you come across some rocky ground, perhaps.
Yeah, I think the beauty of it was that we have had a relationship for quite a while, in terms of we'd known each other for a long time. We'd gone away with each other. We're both part of the Entourage. I'm not sure if you know what the Entourage is, but we're both part of this group that we've go away to Sydney and do some courses with. We both did the Australian Institute of Company Directors and went away for a week and did that together. So we kind of knew a lot about each other. We knew our values. We knew our communication style. So there wasn't really anything specifically that we had to negotiate or was problematic in that spot. Having said that, there's still some things that we're kind of learning about each other. Joe's really good at giving me positive feedback and recognition, and I'm absolutely hopeless at that. And I'd realized that the other day. I was like, I'm sorry, Joe, do you actually want me to email you and say you've done a good job, because I'm very good at that? And she's like, no, that's okay. I know you're not, but I'll keep sending you those good on you emails. So I think just little things like that. Yeah, they were probably, we were, from a personality perspective and from a values perspective, we were pretty good. So there wasn't really any hard conversations.
Lots of sole traders are very cautious about partnerships, and at times are even warned to stay away. How has it worked for you?
Yeah, and to that, I absolutely spent 15 years thinking I would never be in a partnership. I had always heard the bad stories, and I always thought it was not even a consideration for me. And so after the sort of initial conversations that we had, I actually went to my accountant, who I have had for 15 years, and sort of talked about it with him. And I talked about my reservation. And he actually said to me, he's like, "Oh, Cass, I don't even know how you've done what you've done without a partner." He said, "I've never been in business without a partner. Like, for me, it's such a positive thing." And that made me really think and reflect and think about all the amazing businesses in the world which have partnerships. And so that made me go, okay, well, this is actually not a cop-out. This is actually a really positive thing, and has a lot of potential. And it really changed my view on that. And now I've forgotten your question again. Sorry.
It sounds like it's worked out for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It has worked out for us so far.
So you guys have a more formalized agreements in terms of, is it a founder agreement, partnership agreement, and do you have some strategies for when it's time to exit the business as part of that?
Yeah, certainly when I listened to the last conversation, I was thinking, oh, whoa, this was not a handshake. This was a lot of legal involved. So fortunately, we had both used the same lawyer, which was nice. So we'd had separate accountants, and we did all the independent financial stuff we did separately. But the lawyers, it was really nice that we'd actually had the same firm, and we'd had that same firm for a long time, and had a really good relationship with the lawyer that we used. And so those conversations, although the document was very serious, and certainly we have a shareholders agreement and we have all sorts of clauses in there, the conversations around that were just a really comfortable conversation, and actually were really worthwhile in terms of made us really think about some of those things, like, oh yeah, what would we do if that happened? So yes, we certainly have a formal agreement in place. And I guess in terms of exits, yeah, there's various clauses in that about having to have discussions about that every year, I think, is one of them. We have to have a discussion about succession, and we have to have a discussion about what we're looking at in terms of that. Certainly at the moment, we have no exit plans, but we are aware that at one point it may be that Joe's a little bit older than me, so they might not line up. So yes, there's certainly been discussions and formalities around all of that.
I know that you both used consultants and a series of consultants along the process. How important was that for you to make sure that this was done right?
Yeah, it was.
All the lights are turning off here. Sorry.
It was not only important in that how it was done right, but it was probably integral to it happening in the first place. So we both used the same business. We had both used the same business consultant, Jane Alet, who I know is on the screen somewhere here. So Joe had been using her for years. I'd probably been using Jane for maybe a year or 8 months or something like that. And so that was incredibly helpful, firstly, because Jane was really aware of how Joe ran a business and knew more about the ins and outs of how she ran, and vice versa. And so when Jane thought this was a good idea, that was a really positive thing for us, because we're like, okay, well, Jane knows most of us in this way and she thinks it's a good idea. So that, not that if she thought it was a bad idea, we would probably have maybe changed it, but it was just a really good thing. And then, of course, because she'd been involved with both the business, it just made absolute sense to continue that consultancy and to really get Jane involved with that, the whole merger piece. And we used her for like the change modeling and meeting the team and going through a process with that. So that was, yeah, it's fantastic. And we continue to use Jane, and she's now involved in a leadership program for our leaders. So yeah, it's been great. But remembering that, and this is so common, that even though Joe and I have been in business for a long time, we're not necessarily business background. So it's always nice to get someone to help. And I've always done that, whether that is memberships with the entourage or memberships with another thing, or business consultant or business coach. Like since day dot, I've always looked for advisors. And so Jane's just a really nice fit with what we're doing.
I was gonna see if Jane maybe wanted to pop her head in here. I think that this is something, and partnerships can be so complicated. So so we could talk about this for months probably. I don't know if Jane wanted to maybe pop on off mute if she wanted to, and maybe if there's a couple of key things that people need to consider if they're considering even entering a partnership agreement, whether it's a formal one like this or whether it's an informal one.
Hi, Jane here. Thank you. And thanks, Cass, for your kind words. That was very lovely. Yeah, look, I think the key thing that came across with LiteHaus spoke about and you've alluded to here, Cass, is just being on the same page. I mean, some partnerships don't work and they get a lot of airtime, the ones that don't, but if a partnership is done well, it will work. But you've got to have a look at why people go into partnership. And I spoke to Joe and Cass in the early days about you want to go into a partnership with somebody that brings something different to the table than what you already have. That's probably one of the biggest problems with partnerships, is when people take another them and just go into partner because they think it'll be easier to have somebody to bounce ideas off. But if they're not bringing a different skill set, then there's really no value in doing that. So that's probably my tip number one for looking at partners and partnerships and mergers, is make sure you're bringing something different to the table. But really, really, really critical is to have shared values and a shared purpose. And because, as Cass said, I've been working with both Joe and Cass for quite some time and knew them as human beings as well as knowing their business, and certainly understood their core values and what they're trying to achieve in the world, which essentially is to make the world a better place. It was the perfect storm in terms of should we do this? Yes, we should. The other thing I'd say, though, is a merger is a big piece of work when you've got two fairly established businesses, and as you said, Cass, what, about 38 staff or something now, so it's quite a big thing. We went through a whole change management process with that, so I led them through the Cotto change management system, which is the gold standard in change management. So, and we involved the whole team in that, and I think that was really critical too in having a successful outcome. Anyone that's been an employee from a merger or a takeover and it hasn't worked, it's usually because it's been shoved on top of you and you just go to work one day and everything's different and you're just expected to deal with it. And we didn't do that to the team at Apricus. So everybody was involved in a formal sort of structure all the way through, and actually had an opportunity to shape the way of the business. And Joe and Cass are very, very open in that. In fact, we had a strategy day with the whole team on Monday, and we do that on a regular basis through this organisation. So it's a both Access Therapy Services and Helping Hands were fantastic, strong, profitable, growing businesses, but together they're achieving a lot more. So it's been my pleasure to be involved. Not an easy process, but an important process, and it's having a great outcome. So well done to both Cass and Joe for leading the change.
Thank you very much, Jane, and thank you, Cass. I just wanted to check and see if Anna, if any questions have been sent through, or if anyone who's on the call has a question that they'd like to ask, just pop your hand up and we'll try to hear your question and get an answer for you.
Hey, Susan, I haven't seen any questions come through on the chat, so apologies if I've missed one, but I can't see any. But if anyone wants to chime in, now's your chance.
I think Cass has her hand up. Cassandra Casalino.
I just wanted to ask a question. Cass, your business is amazing. My daughter's broken her arm 3 times. You've helped us every time. Thank you. But this is actually a question for Jane. I wondered, Jane, you were just talking about involving the whole team. Is that something that's overlooked on a regular basis? Like, do a lot of people forget to kind of include the team and take them on the journey?
Yeah, and it's really unfair. I often say that in business, that we're often really unfair to our staff members. And I think it's just critical that, we don't just sort of dump things on top of them, as I said. And we certainly spoke about that with the team of Apricus in the early days. And there was, 1 or 2 people that had been there and been through a change, and it had been a really negative experience. So Joe and Cass were very keen that wasn't going to be the situation here. I think we often say your staff are your most important asset, and they really are. It would be very difficult to run a service-based business like Apricus Health without having your whole team on board. And again, that's where I'll always come back to that. You know, what are your values? What's driving you as a business? What is it you're trying to achieve, and your purpose? And if a lot of people don't even consider those for a start, and if they do, they don't involve their team in that. And again, both Cass and Joe have been very active in doing that in their separate businesses, and then we've redone that as a group process with Apricus Health. So I think it's just, you know, if you want your team to work with you, then you need to involve them in the business. And a lot of people don't trust their staff well enough to do that, and I think that's more to their detriment.
Thank you. Any last chance for any questions for either Cassandra, Chiesa or Jane?
We have a question from Jane. I think that's right. Jane has asked, what has been the most challenging aspect?
The most challenging, there's been a few. The most challenging aspect, I would say, because I have the CFO hat on in the business, and certainly the most challenging has been, I guess, the underestimation of the costs that the merger brought up. So we certainly budgeted to what we thought it would cost, but it cost a lot more. And whether or not we could have foreseen that, I'm not sure, but certainly there was some, it cost a lot more than we did. So that's probably been the biggest challenge, but also just the merger of all the financials has been really challenging too. So regardless of that, just we're going from 2 different practice management systems, you know, 2 different P&Ls that we've used, and different layouts of accounts, and just so much it's just been a lot more time consuming and difficult to get what Jane talks about, that one source of truth, because we're just kind of still drawing data, and we're still having bills that are outside, that are in the other 2 companies. So that's been probably the most challenging thing, which is probably a good thing because that's fixable, and I'm hoping that come February we're clean and we have that one source of truth. But that's certainly, for me, from a finance perspective, been the most challenging thing.
Thank you so much. Thank you to both of you. One thing the things that I've taken away is take your time, make sure your values align, and seek outside support, because it's going to take time and you've got to ask the right questions and make sure you get to the right answers eventually. Thank you so much, Cassandra, and thank you so much, Jane, for your input. And now we are going to move to the hotspot. If you'd like to join the hotspot, we have had a few nominations already. These are some of the reasons you should take to the hotspot: to introduce yourself if you're new to the community, to discuss an area that others can support you, to share opportunities for others like leads, grants, training and supports, and to celebrate your own or your organisation's wins and major milestones. The rules of the hotspot. This is important. Cassandra Casalino, have you got your bell? She's got the bell. The rules of the hotspot. You can and should talk about the hotspot. There are no losers, but there could be winners. Have you got the prize there, Cass? Or is that a prize?
There is a prize. We are giving away this very delicious, amazing, locally created 10 Lines tropical gin. I don't know how we're going to manage this, but we will take it offline, and we have 3 secret judges actually in the crowd. So we're going to pick the best one. And where is, do we have our Mr. Tan Lines on the call? Probably not. Tan Lines here. So Tan Lines is a local product that is produced. It's amazing. It's an amazing gin, and we will be giving that to the winning hotspot tonight. So find out tomorrow in your inbox.
Thank you, Cass. The idea of this is all about being fun, kind, supportive, and it's a safe space. Networking is encouraged to get on the hotspot. So if today is not the day, then another day, next first Wednesday Connect, you can join us. You've got 2 minutes. There may be some exceptions for audience participation. And as I've mentioned, Cass does have a bell and she is not afraid to use it. All the rules are subject to change. Positive banter is encouraged. So if you do want to switch and unmute later on, you can have a chance for a question or two. First, onto the hotspot. The virtual hotspot is Zach Martin Taylor. If you can unmute yourself and jump on the hotspot. Have we got Zach?
Yeah, hey, how's it going?
Thanks for joining us.
That's all right.
You've got 2 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, g'day. So my name's Zach. I own Rising Sun FPV and Rising Sun 3D. We're a small business that I started up when I was in the Defence Force to help with depression and anxiety. From that, we do 3D printing, custom drones as well. We've moved into sort of like defence contracts and working with multiple companies around North Queensland, in particular like spray drones as well. Our big passion is creating like a custom product for a customer, coming up with a solution for that, whether that be a 3D printed item for like a small coupler or a small cover or something like that, 3D printed business cards, or we've even done like 3D printed beer mats. But the most favorite thing we do is like 3D printed bus. And we always go big with those. We just 3D printed a 1-to-1 scale pull. I started in the garage, 36 square meter garage. I moved out of the garage last year in August with Noel, who's here with me. And we're now at Unit 5, 30 Civil Road at a 289 square meter facility with a storefront and everything like that. We also do STEM as well. So that's a big thing that we're sort of prioritizing this year is our STEM aspects. And we're working on building like a STEM pack and working with teachers who don't know how to build drones, so that we can get the teachers in and teach them how to build the drones so they know what they're talking about. And where, you know, if they want us, we can be floaters in the room. And that's the same for 3D printing as well, as we want to create this environment that it's really easy to learn STEM, and it's also pretty fun and can lead into something great that we've made here, and we would like to share that. Yeah.
Oh. I always feel like the bully. I'm sorry.
That's why I outsourced this job, Cass.
That was amazing.
Zach, have you met John Chandler, who's actually the next person on the hotspot? Have you, Zach, have you met John Chandler or anyone from the Townsville STEM Hub before? You guys might be a great connection.
No, and that's why we sort of like wanted to attend this and just sort of make ourselves known that we have a 3D print farm. We've got soldering irons, and you know we've got the works. We've got a full store fit out the front, and we'd love to make some connections and some partnerships to really build our business and help other people out as well.
Does anyone have a question for Zach? Feel free to unmute and just jump in.
Just while someone's thinking, Zach, we will make that connection for you. We'll get John to reach out, and we'll share emails if that's okay with both of you. And that's what tonight's all about. Like, if we can help make some of these connections, let us know what you need, and we will help to facilitate where we can.
Awesome.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yep.
I'd like to know where you'd love to see your business in the next few years. Like, if anything was possible, have you thought about where you could really take it? And I don't know, just anything like that.
Yeah, so we sort of sit down and spoke about that. We want to branch out a little bit more. So there's more sort of a capability that we'd like to offer to the North Queensland region. We have the skills, but we don't have the equipment. So we're working towards building our business up and selling a lot more stock and that kind of thing, that we can get something like a CNC, so that we can cut our own carbon fiber frames, so that we're not outsourcing that from Canada and paying an absorbent amount in shipping. We know how to do it. It's just getting the CNC. Growing on that is just being able to provide the best possible service that we could in that. I think the facilities that we're in right now, with the size of the space, I think we're probably going to outgrow that by the time of the end of our lease by 2023. But we'll see how we go with that. But yeah, I think we're doing well and really stable, and we just want to really enhance on that.
Well, from my understanding, growing out of your space is a good problem to have. But yeah, thanks for answering my question.
And they've really got the North Queensland iconic starting in the garage idea down pat. That's, I think, where the great places, great organisations really start. Thanks so much, Zach. And next, I'd like to invite John Chandler to the hotspot. He's one of our Smart Precinct NQ board members, and he is also the community lead for the Townsville STEM Hub. John Chandler, are you on the call?
Yeah, I'm here.
He's here.
Can you see?
I can see you.
Okay, great. Look, welcome everybody. John Chandler. Yes, I am on the board, but also I'm an executive member of the Townsville STEM Hub, which has been around for quite a few years now and was really an inspiration of a number of people here, but also Inspiring Australia, who came up and wanted to fund some STEM engagement. And since then, we've managed to be able to be quite cohesive and reach out, not only in terms of the STEM cohesion, but also in professional development, like Zach was talking about, professional development of teachers, and basically generally spreading the word about how STEM is important, not only for an educational side, but also from a work and entrepreneurship side and innovation. So we get funded from multiple sources. We certainly get funding from Inspire Australia, which is great. We also have sponsors, and these sorts of events are great because we can reach out and try and find relevant partnerships like yours, Zach, and others to see where we can go in the future. And certainly I think that partnering will be one of those big things in the future for big business to come and join with us, but also smaller businesses who might want to find a way into our community. So we had a pretty busy November, December, which was great. We had to actually do on the 26th November, we had a professional development day for school scientific technicians and secondary teachers, which was at JCU, and they put on a really fantastic day where we looked at units 3 and 4 across the year 11 and 12 curriculum in biology, chemistry and physics. And not only did they provide all the lecturers and scientific technicians, but they obviously provided the facilities and food. And we had 60 staff members from all around the region. So they came from Bowen, out west, north, Ingham, and spent the day with us in those 3 areas, biology, chemistry and physics, and that was great. So with 60 attendees, that was pretty fantastic. We also had the following week, we had a professional development day for primary teachers, and that was run in cooperation with STEM Punks, which is a group down south who came up. They were paid, but they did a day of design thinking, but used microbits and Tinkercad and did some programming coding with the teachers, primary teachers, trying to get them to break out of that fear of really simple coding operations. And that was with the Townsville City Libraries. And we had about 15 in attendance there. And the next day on the Saturday, we had a space workshop with the STEM Punks, which was great as well. And we did a future of food in space aimed at school students, and was 2 free workshops, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. And that was the STEM Punks actually doing design thinking, but really working around the 2D, 3D design and augmented reality with the kids, again, at the city libraries. So that was a busy 2 weeks. We meet next week on the executive, and we'll start trying to plot out our year's activities. And of course, again, we're very happy to welcome people come and partner for events and use our network. Great. Thanks very much.
Thanks, John. I think you earned some bonus time as a director. Any questions for John?
John, just, sorry, go Cass.
I don't have a question, but I have, I'm part of the Philip Young Youth Program, and in December we awarded, I think she's 19 or 20, engineering student for entrepreneur. So it's an entrepreneur. It's a business award for people have to be under 26, and we awarded a young engineer student for her business idea, which is called STEM Sisterhood, and so she wants to run holiday programs for school students in regards to STEM, but then she also wants to mentor girls who go to university in STEM degrees to make sure they graduate and to make sure they come out the other side, because there's such a huge drop off. So she was awarded a $10,000 bursary to sort of bring that little business to fruition. So I think if you haven't met her, she's phenomenal, and would be a great person to link in with what you're doing.
Great. Well, I'll get that through Susan, that details, and we can have a chat to her. Thanks. That's great.
Thank you so much. Okay, next up on the hotspot, we have Martin Coffey and, I mean, is it President Ted? Oh, we'll find out.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm President Ted. I'm the President, CEO, Founder, Managing Director, and the Supreme Grand Master Head Chef of an exciting, innovative new entertainment company called New Entertainment. New is spelt K-N-E-W-K. Unfortunately, new was already taken, so we had to add some silent Ks. We're a virtual organisation using technology and innovation to deliver new forms of entertainment. We're focused on using technologies like augmented reality, virtual reality, artificial intelligence. We're also looking at getting into crypto, NFTs, and potentially the metaverse to deliver exciting new experiences for our audiences. Being a virtual organisation, we have people all over the world. We have, oh, gee, that went quick. We have some Americans in America, Australians in Australia, and we even have some New Zealanders in Australia. I've been working extensively with a very talented expat Kiwi. His name's Martin Coffey. That's Martin Coffey, like the drink, but spelled different. In terms of our roles, I do all the talking and Martin does all the typing. You try typing with fingers like this. Not easy. He says he's been completely converted to an Australian now. He even says he fully supports the Wallabies in the cricket. Our first mobile game has been released. It's called Dish Pinner AR, and it's available free on an app store near you. If you say it fast enough, you'll understand what the game is about. Dish Pinner, Dish Pinner, Dish Pinner, Dish Pinner, Dish Pinner. There we go. It's about spinning plates and seeing how many you can keep up at the same time. We recently worked with Margie O'Hara on bringing her affirmation cards to life in augmented reality on the mobile devices. Check out Faces of the Forest app for free. And we're currently working on a new game, follow-up game called Dish Masher, which is if you're frustrated, you can make any location into your very own rage room. It'll be released soon on an app store near you. If you would like to sign up for beta releases and have an early release of some of these apps, also talk about AI, AR, VR, and brainstorm about gamification projects, feel free to contact me on president.ted@knewk.com or via our website. There's a contact page there. We're also building our Discord community. How's that going, Martin? How's it going, Martin? Tomorrow, but that's what you said yesterday. Anyway, thank you very much. If you have any questions, feel free to jump right in.
Thank you both. Does anyone have any questions or comments for either Martin or President Ted?
Can I just clarify that website, please? Is it knewk.com?
Yes, very good.
Got
Correct.
it. I'll check it out.
Thank you. Okay, next up, Miranda, our Smart Precinct NQ boss, would like to join us to talk about Cyber North.
Hi guys, thank you for joining us in these challenging times of COVID. One of the other things that's really challenging for us in our community at the moment is cybersecurity. And whether you realise it or not, we're actually in the midst of a bit of a cyber war. And one of the things that we need to think about as North Queensland businesses is being able to be cyber resilient for our businesses perspective, as our regional perspective, and also being able to develop the skills within our region and stop the brain drain outside of our region. So if you haven't been under a rock in the last couple of years, you'll probably have heard everyone talking about skills, and where do we get the resources. So one of the things that we're trying to do at Cyber North is actually increase the number of people that are thinking about cybersecurity as a career pathways, and also being able to talk to educators around what that looks like as a job for the future. Smart Precinct, along with the Australian Securities Society, is actually hosting a educator to industry evening, breakfast, in March, where we will be doing some really cool things with educators, talking about types of jobs for the future, including cybersecurity, and having some very cool interactive activities from Cubic and other organisations in our community around VR and what that looks like. We really think that it's important for our community to get involved in identifying to our people coming up into the region that there are job opportunities here and they don't need to leave. So if you would like to put your hand up to be a part of the breakfast and just be able to explore what that might look like, and President Ted love to have you involved, please get in contact with us through Smart Precinct, through CZ. And yeah, I think that we could all agree that being able to showcase opportunities for our future generations is really important. If we want our business ecosystem to survive, we need to provide opportunities for our youth. Thanks, Susie. I didn't even get a ding.
So close.
Bam.
Does anyone have any comments, questions for Miranda? Thank you, Miranda. Next on the hotspot is Daniel Sumpton from the Charters Towers Sumpton's Gold Rush Gazette. We're really excited to have him along tonight as part of our community. Dan, are you there? Can you unmute yourself if you are?
I am.
Dan, come on down as our first Charters Towers business. On the hotspot, that is.
Well, thank you for having me on. So essentially, I am the creator and editor for the Charters Towers magazine, Sumpton's Gold Rush Gazette. We have been going for about 6 months now. We have had unprecedented growth, and we've kind of become one of the mainstream platforms for news in our region. And yeah, I guess our business model is to be supportive while informative. Because we're a magazine, I've got the liberties to be very openly supportive about businesses, about the town, about things that are going on. So we basically focus on positive stuff and things to hopefully that will hopefully promote the people in our region. We are currently planning on expanding to Ingham. We've had some fantastic people there chat to us, and they want one of our magazines in Ingham, so we're planning on doing that. And our hope is to do a couple towns across Overlanders Way. Like, we want to have one of these in Hewenden, Richmond, and particularly Mount Isa. And yeah, that's about it.
Thank you. Anyone got any questions, comments for Dan?
Dan, I have a question.
Yes.
I'd like, could you please share with us for businesses that are potentially developing in the region, or there's activities going on, good news stories, how do people get stories to you? How do you like the content? I think we spoke about your magazines fortnightly. Could you let us know about that? So if there's some businesses here that have some value they can share with you, how do they get it to you?
Yeah, so we have a fortnightly publication, and we're not particularly picky about when our information comes in. I've got our my phone, my email, and obviously the messenger section is there on Facebook. Everything's available. You'll either get me or my lovely graphic artist, and we are more than happy, like you say, you know, what you are, what you want to do. If it's advertising, we'll talk to you about prices. If it's a story, we'll talk to you about how we can put one together and what we do and what business will suit you best. And yeah, so just reach out and we'll collaborate.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Dan.
No worries at all.
Okay, final contender on the hotspot today is Jane Alet. She's Smart Precinct NQ's Chief Growth Advisor and author of Big Little Business, and we have seen her already tonight. So welcome back, Jane.
Sorry, always important to remember to unmute. Thank you. So thank you for that introduction. So I do lots of stuff I've been a business owner myself for over 25 years. I've made all the mistakes under the sun. And in recent times, since I've sold my businesses, I now work full-time as a business growth consultant, as Cass alluded to earlier, as well as my work with Smart Precinct. So fundamentally, most people go into business because they've got a product or a service that they love, and they want to share it with the world. That's basically why we open our own business. But you can be the best chef, the best hairdresser, the best designer, barista, manufacturer, engineer, lawyer, whatever it is that you do in the world, but that actually doesn't help you to run a business. And again, I think Cass alluded to that. The skills that you need to run a business are quite different to the technical aspects of your business. But the good news is that business skills can be taught, and you should, if you have your own business, you should all be hungry for as much information as you can. So the book that Cass said I've written is Big Little Business, and that's because I have two roles. I've worked in my own businesses as well, but I've also been a board director and still am on some large businesses, and so I apply big business strategies to little businesses to help them grow. So I've now developed that into a 5-week Big Little Business Bootcamp, which I run with co-presenter Megan Colwell through Smart Precinct. Ran the first one at the end of last year, and the next one begins on the 15th of February. We have 2 positions left for this bootcamp. We cover all the key areas of business concerns in a really practical workshop format with real tangible things that you can take away and use in your business from day one. So we start with understanding the importance of your business values, as I've banged on about before, and your purpose, and we create your own big little business on a page. We then move into strategic business thinking, which is the absolute key in terms of growing your business and taking it to the next level. So many people are really frightened by the numbers in their businesses, the finances. So I teach you how to become your own financial detective and really understand what goes on in your business. We have a module called I See You, which is all about understanding who your ideal customer is and how you can attract them. And then we do roles, goals and process, which is about building a high performing team and getting your staff on board. That's about me. I know we're going to get the bell. Any more information, contact me directly or through Smart Precinct. And I think there's a tab on the Smart Precinct website, smartspnq.org, about all the programs that they run, and Big Little Business is one. Thank you.
Thanks, Jane. And I've also got a little video here that people can watch to find out more.
It hit the mark for me because it really allowed, I guess, a safe environment to talk about business, which is obviously a very personal thing for everyone, but we were all able to share enough information that we all got the benefit from it without having to reveal too much.
Jane and Megan create an atmosphere that's really collaborative and where you feel really comfortable to engage.
Big Little Business Bootcamp for me was brilliant. Really gave me the opportunity to access the wisdom and the skills and the professional experience of 2 of the best businesswomen in town.
It's just a good program to make you stop and think about all the things that you need to for a small business, and then you can discuss it in the group, which is really helpful.
Would definitely recommend this
course to people, whether you're just starting out or you already have a well-established business.
I would recommend it to anyone, small business, big business. I have already put in place along the way some of the learnings and seen the difference.
And that was from the participants of the most recent Big Little Business Boot Camp. Okay, coming up at Smart Precinct in the coming weeks, if you'd like to launch your business idea in 2022, now is the time to let us know if you're interested in joining the next Startup On-Ramp cohort. Learning some much needed relaxation and breathing exercises to reduce stress and avoid burnout. We have Reset and Relax online starting this coming Monday, running for the next 5 weeks, featuring the skills of one of our founders, Jasmine from Youth Reset, who has been through our Activate cohort. On Tuesday next week, we are sharing more details about what Smart Hub Charters Towers is all about. That's a free information session online. It starts at 5:30 on Tuesday. Our next cohort of iActivate is gearing up for their final showcase evening. The date for this is yet to be confirmed, as we're endeavouring to have this as an in-person event. Can you believe that? That's a conversation that we still have to have, that we've got to have that happening, and it's all about people connecting. Our Queensland Chief Entrepreneur will be sharing the story of 222 innovators in 2022. This is a great opportunity for local innovators, businesses and leaders and more to highlight the amazing projects happening in the NQ region. For this and all of the events mentioned, head to our socials and website for all of the information and links. And the other thing that you can get more information about is the Business Concierge Services support packages, which the spots for those are running out. So get in quick if you're looking to apply for that support package. We have come to the end of the event. I'd like to thank our guest speakers, Melanie, Lavelle, Maloney, Jack Growden, Ashley Finn and Cassandra Chiesa. Thank you also to Joanne Murray, who was unable to join us tonight, as well as those in the community who joined Hotspot and joined our conversations. We'd also like to recognise our sponsors, NQ Rock, JCU, Townsville City Council, Advanced Queensland, Kerry Group and DACTech. And Smart Precinct NQ is a proud small business friendly organisation. Thanks to all of you who've joined us in this virtual event space. We hope that we see you at some of our upcoming Smart Precinct NQ events, and we hopefully will see you in the Smart Precinct really soon when we're allowed to all open up again. Stay safe and dare to think big. Have a great night, everyone.